are live inside Studio B for your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. Dave McCann, Isaiah Kafusi here on BYU Sports Nation. Our pleasure to bring in Dalton Wasserman, college football analyst for Pro Football Focus and co-host of the PFF College Football Show. We love his insights, his wit, and he's keeping a keen eye on these Cougars. 7-0 BYU. How surprising is that start?
It's very surprising, honestly, when you see just the drastic improvement of this team and where they were at last year. The quarterback situation was a mess last year, and even coming into this year was pretty open competition between Jake Retzlaff and Gary Bohannon. And then maybe even more surprising is just this drastic improvement of their defense. I know they gave up 35 points to Oklahoma State last week, but I'll tell you, for the most part, they have put together a really physical, balanced football team on both sides of the ball. Drastic improvement from their quarterback and big-time improvement from their defense. I think it's just a better team effort that they're having this year. It's a very well-rounded, balanced team, and they're getting it done a lot of different ways.
Dalton, you talk about a drastic improvement out of the quarterback play, right? I know now everyone talks about the screensaver, that, Jake Retzlaff's screensaver, and ESPN loves to highlight it. But what improvements have you seen out of Jake that really say, hey, this kid is the real deal?
You're talking first about just not making as many big mistakes, right? I think the big thing last year was that when he did make mistakes, they were backbreaking. Turnover-worthy plays are a big thing for us, and he made some egregious ones last year. Obviously, limited time, first year up, from junior college, and it's about limiting those mistakes. And then he just looks so much more confident and comfortable. And I think as we get deeper into the season, that's becoming more and more true. He believes in his arm talent. He can make darn near any throw on the field. He believes in his pass protection, which is much improved from last year, I think. And you just see a guy who's so much more comfortable, right? Going through that quarterback battle in the preseason, going through it against a veteran like Gary Bohannon, who's played a lot of college football, right? They didn't necessarily have to go with Retzlaff here, but he's proven that he can play at every step of this thing, and he keeps getting better against better competition. And what he's done, I think especially, it felt like for the whole team and for Retzlaff, that big win they had over Kansas State just instilled a new confidence, like, okay, this is real. We can do this. Yeah, there's my list right there. That feels good. I mean, it's just, you can see the confidence. He's playing with belief in the guys around him, and belief that, even if he does make a mistake, which have been fewer and further between this year, his defense can pick him up. You're not seeing him press like he did at moments last year.
Him at the bottom of your list is no surprise around college football. And to be quite honest, BYU fans weren't quite sure what he was going to bring this year as well. So right now it makes you look like you were in left field, but you were in center field when you made that list, because everyone was wondering the same thing. If you were to make the list today, where would Retzlaff be? Started at 16 on your list. Where would he be today?
If I was evaluating it off of this year, I think he'd have to be second. Look, I think Shedeur Sanders, me personally, I think he's the best quarterback in the country. It's either him or Cam Ward at the very top, but I would have to put Retzlaff second. I know Rocco Beck's been really good for Iowa State, but there's some turnovers in there, and he's gotten away with some mistakes. Brendan Storesby for Cincinnati's been solid, kind of surprisingly solid as well. But I think Retzlaff is second. And when you look at what he adds, the explosive element that he adds to this offense, and he's still their leading rusher. I mean, what he's added in the run game, especially in that stretch where you guys had L.J. Martin and some other running backs get hurt early in the year, he became the center of the run game as well. Now it looks a little more balanced with Martin and Hinckley Rapati back in there, but what he's done to carry this offense through those injuries and continues to do with the explosive playmaking, I would have to put him second.
Dalton, when you look at this BYU football team, great defense, an offense that plays complementary football, right? They maintain drives, they sustain drives. We were debating earlier, right, who gets more credit for the for the first 7 games of the season, the BYU offense or the BYU defense? What's your take?
Oh, see, that's the hardest question, because they do play. They're one of the most, I think they're one of the most balanced teams in the country, right? It's hard not to give equal credit. Like, we see so many breakout teams where you go, okay, the quarterback broke out and they still can't score, I think, or they can't stop people. Like, I think at Texas Tech, that's kind of the case, where their offense is broken out a bit, but their defense is lagging behind some. Or, you see some other teams where they get 1 or 2 breakout stars that are carrying them. And I think that's actually the beauty of this BYU team, is it's so hard to give more of the credit to one or the other, because there's been moments where they've both been great, right? The defense absolutely shut down Kansas State. Retzlaff had to be great last week for the final drive against Oklahoma State when the defense didn't have a great day. You mentioned complementary football. I think there's very few teams in the country playing better complementary football. So to answer that question is a really hard one. I know a lot, the quarterback's always going to get the most of the credit, right, because of the weight of the position, but they've been so balanced, and they're one of these teams right now. You don't see one big Achilles heel, right? Like it seems like for every team, almost every team in the country, they have this one thing you have to do to them to beat them. I think with BYU, kind of like, look, Oklahoma State played their best game of the year, I thought, against BYU, and they still couldn't find a way to beat them. You just have to line up and beat them as they are. It's very hard. It's very hard to give more credit for one side or the other, because I think they've been so balanced, and that's been the biggest key to their success.
Dalton Wasserman, a college football analyst for Pro Football Focus, co-host of the PFF College Football Show with Max Chadwick. Now, BYU's ranked number 11th, and Cougar Nation is ecstatic to be number 11. Some think, hey, maybe they should be in the top 10 at some place, and you guys have certainly got an opinion on that. Where should BYU be ranked heading into this UCF game?
I think you can easily argue they should be number 6 or 7 in the country. They've got a better resume than Iowa State. I don't see any reason to punish them for playing a tight game with Oklahoma State when you've got Iowa State has played a few close games, including last week against UCF. Got a team like Miami who had 2 massive comebacks against teams that you figured they should have took care of business against. So I think punishing them for close games is wrong if you still get the win. And I think they should be ahead of Iowa State. I think they've played a little bit more consistent football than Iowa State has, and they have such a great resume. That win over SMU is a spectacular win when you look at what the Mustangs have done lately. You beat K-State by almost 30 points when they never lose by that much. K-State always goes down at least with a fight. Dominated Arizona. Yeah, it was closer against Baylor, but they dominated the early parts of that game. And the Oklahoma State game, they were on a short week, and Oklahoma State, I believe, was off a bye week. So look, not every game is going to be just walking out there and doing what they did to Kansas State. But the fact that they have that win at SMU, which looks so much better now, the K-State win, looked really good the last 3 weeks, had to get through the Oklahoma State games, but that's going to happen, especially those Friday night games. Those midweek games can be a little weird. Honestly, I would probably have them at number 7 right now. I think they should be ahead of Iowa State.
Let me follow up on that. Why is it that they aren't? What's keeping them out? Is it the fact that they started at like 50 or 55 and are just making the climb up? Or is there something else that the national media are going, yeah, we're not letting you in the top 10?
I think it's just, maybe there's some underlying metrics. I'm not entirely sure what they are, because to me they look pretty good. Maybe there's underlying metrics here that say they shouldn't be that high, but I don't get that in comparison to Iowa State either. I think it's more about the close games, right? Like sometimes you see the rankings, they don't always watch every game immediately right after, and when they come out with the AP poll Sunday afternoons, right, they maybe don't always watch. They just check the scores and do that. Like they see a 6-point win over Baylor and they go, well, Baylor's not that good. And I kind of disagree. Baylor's been competitive in a lot of their games. Could have, they almost had the big comeback on BYU. They should have beat Colorado for being real, and then a close game with Oklahoma State, who hasn't played like they did last year, like the Big 12 runner-up that they were last year. But I don't think you can always just take into account. Now, if they were winning by 3 points every single week against Baylor and Oklahoma State and Arizona and whatever else, then I go, okay, 1-score games can get fluky. But the dominance over K-State, the great defensive game they played against SMU, which is an extremely dangerous offense. I really don't understand why they're not higher, and at the very, very least, again, ahead of Iowa State.
Dalton, looking ahead to Saturday, right? BYU travels to Orlando. They got a good UCF team, right? Almost beat Iowa State last week. What is your key to the game for BYU to come out victorious?
The big key is what you saw Iowa State, what they struggled with last week, and that's stopping the run and stopping this option game. Okay, UCF now started the season with KJ Jefferson at quarterback. Now they've gone to their backup Ja'Cory Brown, who is a really good runner, but not as great a passer. So UCF is very one-dimensional, but that one dimension is really good with Brown. And their running back, RJ Harvey, is an absolute star. That's an NFL running back. He can take it 80 yards on any play. Okay, so you're talking about, I think, what happened last week. BYU's run defense has been really good this year. And Oklahoma State, with a backup quarterback as well, threw more option looks at them than I think they're used to. And they did a great job of it against K-State when they expected it. But that was kind of new for Oklahoma State. and I thought they struggled a little bit with the option game. So the biggest thing for UCF, and look, they're going to get their rushing yards because they're going to run the ball darn near every play. You just can't give up those big explosive runs like Iowa State did last week. If their run defense rebounds from what they had last week at Oklahoma State, they could go out there and honestly dominate this football game because UCF's defense is not that good. In their 5 Power 5 games, they're giving up points per game well into the 30s. I believe it's over 32 points a game. Their passing game is a mess. This run game for UCF is really their only hope of winning games, and BYU's run defense has been better than Iowa State. They just got to make a little bit of adjustments to the option.
Dalton, let's finish with PFF Plus. What can fans find when they go there?
All of this same data, this great data that I get to look at every single day and every single week. For less than $10 a month, you get a subscription. You get access to all of the grades, NFL and college, our fantasy tools, our mock draft simulator, which is the best tool in the business. Honestly, they've used that even on NFL Network to go through their mock drafts. All the fun stuff, anything you can think of. We've got betting tools as well if you're into the gambling and that sort of thing. We got everything. And again, for less than $10 a month, you can see all of it, use all of it to your advantage, and be the smartest person in the room.
Dalton Wasserman, Pro Football Focus. Enjoy another week of college football. Thank you so much for your insights, and we'll see you again soon.
Appreciate you guys big time. Thank you.
All right.